What's up, everybody? It is Patrick here, and as you can see, I have a very special guest with us today. I have the administrator. Many of you parents out there might recognize this individual if your student is going to Faith Christian Academy. I have Mr. Eric Kerns joining us today. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, bud. Now, for those who might not know, tell us a little bit about who you are before we dive into faith. Who are you? Let's put it that way.
Well, that's a great question. I was born and raised right here in the Eastern Panhandle. My father was a pastor in the Hedgesville area for the first 18 years of my life, and then he and his and my mom joined New Tribes Mission. And so I grew up here in the area, and I was saved at a very early age, basically in the church there that he was pastoring, and so then graduated from high school, went on to college. I went to Heritage Academy through ninth grade, and then to Martinsburg Christian Academy through high school, and graduated from there in 1983. Went on to a couple different colleges, ended up at Liberty University and graduated from there in '88. Met my wife there, Cindy, and we got married then 2 weeks after graduation. We moved to Illinois, where I received a master's degree in exercise physiology from Eastern Illinois University. And really thought that's where the Lord would be calling me to go on and study exercise physiology and get a doctorate in that, but just felt like over the year that I was there that I didn't enjoy being in a library cooped up as much as I thought I would, and so my physical education degree came back to me, and I really felt like wanted to teach. I had some great coaches when I was in high school, and some men of God that really poured into my life, and so I was very attracted to being a coach and being a physical education teacher and having a relationship with young people, and just trying to influence and disciple young people. And so I came to Faith Christian Academy in 1989 and was teaching physical education there and coaching, teaching Bible, a number of other subjects, as Christian school teachers often do, and did that until 1995. Had been working on a master's in administration during that time as well, and the board asked me to step in 1995 and be an interim administrator, and that only lasted a year, and then I became the administrator. So I've been at Faith really ever since. I did have a year where I taught at what was then Baptist Bible College in Pennsylvania from 2000 to 2002. But even during the second half of that time, I came back and forth and helped Faith because they had lost their administrator again. Then the Lord called me back to it in 2002, and I've been there ever since.
Awesome. Now, what are some of the things that, like, if you're a parent out there, let's say, and you hear the private school versus public school, that debate all the time and whatnot. So I don't really want to talk about that. But what are some of the things that if were trying to, for lack of a better term, sell somebody on faith? Well,
Yeah.
how would you go about doing that if a parent came to you and said, "Why should my child come to faith?"
Yeah, I think that is the question. And when I think about why Faith Christian Academy exists, and I've been thinking about that for a long time since I've been employed there 35 years. And of course, my own children came to Faith Christian Academy, and I often say the reason I wanted my children at Faith Christian Academy is number one, because they are teaching the truth. Faith Christian Academy teaches the truth. I mean, that is absolutely the number one reason that we exist. Our mission statement is academic and biblical worldview training, and the idea is that you can, of course, be taught Bible in a church setting and at church youth camps and even in the home, and you can be taught English and math and science and social studies in a public school or in other school settings. But really, the only place outside of the home where you can learn science and math and history and English from a biblical perspective and with integrated biblical truth is at a Christian school. And so I wanted more than anything for my children to have exactly what my parents sacrificed many years to give me, and that is the not only great academic training but biblical worldview training, so that when a student graduates from Faith Christian Academy, our desire and our belief is that they are then prepared to go do whatever it is that God calls them to do. They have the tools to know not only what they believe, but to defend that belief in a world that is obviously very antagonistic to the truth. And so, truth is really important to us.
And I'm sure that you keep up with some of your former students that have moved on from faith. And do you see that there is a pattern of them, taking that knowledge that they've learned at faith and taking that foundation into the workforce where they go? Do you have not necessarily examples of that, but is that an overall thing that you
Yeah.
see?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, one of the greatest evidences of that to us, and we were just remarking about that here in recent weeks at the school, is to see former students bring their own children to Faith Christian Academy. That, I don't have the exact number, but we now have, I think, 5 or 6 former students employed at the school, which is a great thing, teaching at the school. But not only them bringing their own children, but many other former students and graduates. In fact, this year I know I've had at least 3 interviews with former students who maybe graduated 15, 18 years ago, and they're bringing their children to the school now. So, yeah, we love to hear the stories and get feedback from alumni when they tell us the difference that the school made in their lives. And of course, we see it in some local businesses and local opportunities, but it's also great when they come back to teaching or go somewhere else to teach. But we have quite a few that are coming back to the school, which is great.
Well, what now? We do have some things coming up. I was contacted by one of your awesome teachers there, Jen. Shout out to Jen for the seventh grade, if I remember correctly, teacher. And you have, is it called the Day of Caring? Is that how you all phrase
Well,
it?
it's our Labors of
Labors
Love,
of Love. That's it. Yeah.
yes, program. She's actually our development director. So
Okay.
she pairs each of our grades with a local nonprofit through a program we call Community Helpers Program. And so twice each year, that class is supposed to have an exposure to and an opportunity to volunteer with that local nonprofit. And so she sounds like she's trying to hook the seventh grade up here with the rescue mission. And that'll be on May 9th, and that's a great day. She was just telling me this morning that we'll probably have over 1,300 community volunteer hours just that day alone. And that's from all of the students and the parents that come out. It's really kind of a culmination of what we like to see in our students is community service throughout the year. We try to facilitate that as much as we can. She also leads an organization at our school. It's a club that is called the Interact Club, and that's through I think the local Rotary, and they do just hundreds of hours of community service projects, around Martinsburg and the Eastern Panhandle. So it's a great way for our students to be exposed to different ministries and also to understand the perspective of others having needs and giving of yourself in that way.
Yeah, and I remember a couple years ago, we had some of the young ones. I think it was like third or fourth graders out. They planted flowers out in the
Oh,
front that
good.
are
Yeah.
still out there, and it
Yeah,
was
that's
so
great.
good seeing them. They got dirty. They were on their hands and knees, and they got dirty. So speaking of maybe some construction here, I know before we came on the air here, you had talked about you have some projects upcoming for some small and larger expansions of faith. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so 4 or 5 years ago, we we just felt like the waiting lists at the school were getting to the point that the demand for Christian education was increasing, and Uh, I personally felt burdened because it's really hard to talk with parents who desperately want to have their child in a Christian school and then just not have the space. And so we had purchased in 2012, we had purchased 75 acres that was real close to the school, just a few hundred yards away. And we had put the entrance into that, the DOH entrance. And so that entrance has been there for, well, 12 or 13 years now. But we made the conscious decision about 4 years ago that it was just time after prayer and the board really doing a lot of research on it and prayer on it. It was time to start that expansion. And so we did a kind of a temporary expansion with the neighbor, Bob Tabler, which probably many of your listeners will recognize that name because I
I
believe
believe
he
his
built.
daughter is the principal.
That's right.
Okay,
She
yes.
is the elementary principal,
Yes.
and I think he was the general contractor
Yes.
on this project. So he's been letting us use some space there in a field. I mean, we put in a big modular classroom area with 5 classrooms. It's just amazing. I could tell stories all day about the ways that the Lord provided over these last 4 years. But what it's enabled us to do is to begin to double classes so that we have two of each class. Next year, then as we've been doubling classes, we've also been building our first classroom building over on the 75 acres. And so that is just wrapping up, and Lord willing, the builder keeps telling me, June 15th is the date that's going to be done. And so this fall, we'll move our 6th through 12th grade into that new classroom building, and our pre-K through 5th will be housed in the existing campus there on Greensburg Road. And that will take our capacity from where it is now at about 450 students up to 750 students. And I believe we'll start next year probably around 565. So we've gone from 300 students just 4 years ago to where we believe again next year we'll start at around 560, 570 students. So it's incredible because as we sat and talked about it 4 years ago, my son had just had his first child, and I was thinking, I'll probably be able to get my grandchild in the school, but there's a lot of parents and a lot of grandparents who won't be able to unless we expand, who won't be able to receive that academic training, that biblical worldview training that is so important. So we stepped out on faith. We've really been working hard to get this expansion going, and the Lord just keeps providing along the way.
Now, real quick before we sign off here for today, what about a family or a parent or something that might not have the resources to really send a child to school? Is there scholarships,
Yes.
outside funding, stuff like that available?
Yeah, that's a great question. In West Virginia, most people probably know by now, in West Virginia, there is something called the Hope Scholarship. That it all obviously has been driving some of the expansion here. The Hope Scholarship is a school choice program in West Virginia where the state dollars that are allocated for each child can follow the child. The eligibility up to and including this next year is entering kindergarten or transferring out of the public schools after being enrolled for at least 45 days in the public schools. So that is about next year. It'll be a little over a $5,000 scholarship. Our tuition next year is right around eight. So that's a big chunk of help for those people. And then the state has already said that in the 26-27 year, part of that legislation was to expand that Hope Scholarship to all students. So the eligibility requirement no longer is that they attend a public school. That goes away. And so all of our students, even existing students who haven't had the Hope Scholarship, will have that available. But we also have financial assistance. We have a number of churches in the area who support our ministry here, this local ministry that is Faith Christian Academy, and so we use those dollars for scholarships, and we just budget money every year that we use for financial assistance for families who need that assistance.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you have a busy schedule
That's all right.
with 500 and some students out
Yes.
there. But I think it's very important that, the community understands that they have this wonderful facility that is available to them to learn, as you said, a truthful biblical worldview education. And
That's right.
it's so important for us to do that. Anything you want to add before we head out here today, Eric?
Well, I think that's it. I was talking with you ahead of time about my memories of the rescue mission from as a very young child. My father was a pastor locally, and we used to come here in the old building, and of course knew the Crows very well, and have great memories of coming here and singing and listening to my father speak here at the rescue mission, and the rescue mission is just doing such great things here in Martinsburg. It's a blessing to us, and we love partnering with you any chance we get. So.
Thank you so much. If you are interested in partnering with us, the easiest way to do it is to visit the website, martinsburgunionrescuemission.com. There's a volunteer tab if you want to come in and volunteer individually. You can reach out to me if you have a group that wants to come in and do some group volunteering. And as always, we can always use your financial support as well through the donation page, because remember, we do not accept any government money. So it's all done through your donations. Thank you so much for joining me today, Eric.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.